All right, let's talk about the GM V8. Everybody knows about the GM small block. It's been around forever. It is one of the most well-used, well-respected, well-liked engines of all time. The LS, the pushrod deal, aluminum, everything, was basically the start of kind of the new age of GM stuff. It started in '97. Everybody knows the history. It's really good. Yes, there's some older small block Chevy stuff, but let's just kind of focus on like I would say current, but it's kind of 97 to now. I'm not going to talk too much about the past because how automakers used to do things isn't exactly how they do things now. When we're talking about how long engines last in development, you can't really say like, well, the big block lasted this long, or the small block Chevy lasted this long, or Ford's, small block Ford lasted this long. You got to think about the current times and how quickly things evolve and how fast people want like the new next best thing. So I'm going to talk about that. The LS lasted about 17 years. We're on almost 11 years of the LT stuff. And where is GM going from here? They announced a couple years ago that they're kind of going all electric by the year 2030. But as companies do, they flip-flop depending on who is sitting in the White House in the Oval Office. And GM has kind of backtracked on some of their electrification stuff. I think they've realized that it's a losing battle. They're too far back on tech. So they're going to roll that back. And they just announced that they're spending $888 million into producing their new 6th generation V8. Now, that may confuse some people. You may think, well, GM kind of just announced a new V8. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, well, why are they going to spend almost $1 billion producing a new V8 when they just announced the LT7 and LT6? Those are completely different from my understanding. I mean, they don't seem to share really any architecture with the, pushrod stuff. They're the ones in the ZR1 and the Z06 C8s. Those are dual overhead cam. They're flat plane crank, and they are race motors. Assumingly, those engines could be detuned a little bit to be, street motors for like a truck or an SUV or even like a Cadillac of some kind, maybe like a sedan or something could have like a slightly detuned one. Obviously, you'd have to ditch the dry sump. You'd probably ditch the flat plane crank, but that's normal. If you look at Ford, they do a similar thing with their Coyote engine. The Coyote has the Voodoo variant, which is the GT350. They have the Predator variant, which is the one that is kind of in the GT500s. It's the 5.2. They have the truck variant, which has a different firing pattern from my understanding, different cams and slightly different cylinder heads, but they're all the same basic architecture. So it's confusing why GM wouldn't just kind of use that as their stepping stone. Maybe they are. Maybe that's the plan. I have more questions than answers in this video, unfortunately. They have that, and it's pretty decent, it seems. It's a 5.2 liter, it's a 5.5 liter dual overhead cam. Obviously, it makes 670 horsepower, naturally aspirated. It is a very, very serious engine, but with the dual overhead cam stuff, you can really, any motor really, but, the LT stuff as well, but you can really perfect this thing for what you're trying to do. If you want it to have more torque and towing, you can do that. The Coyote has proven that. It's a lightweight aluminum block. Assumingly everything is good on it. It's got the ability to have port or direct injection, both of them together. And it just seems like they're missing link for all of this. And obviously, I'm not, pointing out anything to them that they don't know about, but it feels weird. And on the other side of that, I want this engine to be mass produced. I want to see this thing in a pickup truck in the junkyard in 5 years, in 2 years, in 4 years, whatever. Like, I want to see this thing available. And maybe it won't have the same crank. It won't have the flat plane, and I'm fine with that. Street cars don't really need anything too fancy. They don't need the dry sump. They don't need race cams. Put a towing cam in it for a truck. But it makes you wonder, why are they shying away from using this? Is it really that expensive? If Ford can do it, I truly believe that it can't be too expensive for Chevy to do it. If what's the Z06 cost? $70,000? What's a C8 Z06? Bear with me. C8 Z06 MSRP. Okay, it's $116,000. I may have jumped the shark a little bit on that one. Is it all in the engine? Is that where it comes from? Is this a $30,000 engine? Is that where the added price is? Because the base, what's a base C8 is what, $68,000? So, I mean, is that all engine? That seems excessive. I don't know. Where does GM go? And then it got me remembering, GM developed another V8 that no one ever talks about, which is crazy to hear. It cost almost $1 billion to develop a V8. Why are they developing it for one car? One car has a 4.2 liter V8 that they called the Blackwing, which is the CT6V that was literally only produced from 2019 to 2020. It made 550 horsepower, a 4.2 liter dual overhead cam twin turbo, made 550 horsepower, 500 foot-pounds of torque, and it was a beast. It was a great engine, but you never hear about them. So some more info about this car. You may not know of the CT6V and the CT6 Platinum. They both had the same engine for the most part. The CT6 Platinum was detuned a little bit. 550 horsepower, 640 foot-pounds of torque. They called this engine the LTA, or the Blackwing V8. It was a hot V, so that means that the turbos were in between the intake area, so it's like a kind of a reverse deal from what GM has normally done. It's very like European-esque. It was all-wheel drive, had the 10-speed auto, and it was on GM's Omega platform. This even says it has rear wheel steering, which I don't remember that. That's pretty crazy. Nothing else has this engine, not the Escalade, nothing. It is like a secret blip in the GM radar. Built in Bowling Green, from my understanding. And why do we never see it? Not anywhere. You know how many cars they built with this engine? 875. They didn't even build 1,000 of these engines. And it's just gone. I don't understand that. What other car company, again, these are more questions, what other car company develops a 4.2 liter V8 like this and doesn't use it? And doesn't put it in everything? The old GM would have used this thing in everything. But it's gone. I mean, it was almost 100,000 MSRP in 2020, which actually in today's world really isn't that much, which is kind of crazy. I mean, that's like, I don't know if cars just went up like 8x in value, or like 2x basically. But $94,000 in 2020, that actually gets you a lot. A CT6V, like with a rare motor, I don't know. Maybe the motor was just really not good. Maybe they developed it and they were like, this thing actually sucks. So they kind of had to just put a halt to it, but I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, man. So this is where we end off. I'd love to open up the discussion. I'll hop in the comments if any comments show up. If any people show up, maybe I'm talking to myself. I'm fine with that. But where do you think GM goes? Are they developing a new pushrod engine? Are they just going to retweak the LT stuff, kind of how they did the LS? Obviously, LS follows a clear lineage to LT, and then LT follow a lineage to LA. I don't know what they'll do. LN, maybe? What do you think it'll be? It'll probably be an L something. LR, LR6, LR, yeah. Maybe L8, LA, because this is the LA as LTA. Maybe they'll, I don't know. What'll GM do? Where are we going from here? But that's going to do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like, follow, and subscribe. I'd love to hear from you, but I will see you next time.